This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Radar, and I'm so thrilled to be speaking with April Bowlby about Doom Patrol. How are you, April?
I'm very well. I'm very well. How are you?
Good, good. I really enjoy this show, and I'm excited to have the chance to speak with you now.
Me too. So excited. What a season. Season 4. I tell you what do we got in store for you?
Well, I absolutely loved the Rita Farr retrospective, especially because Rita was like, of course they'd be doing this. This is just a normal thing that would be happening, because I think she sort of lives in her own world. But I'm wondering, what is it like to play an actress?
Oh my God, it's a dream come true. An actress playing an actress. It's fantastic because everything you get to do is like exaggerated and for performance. So there's no overacting, which I really enjoy. You can go as big as you want because she's an actress and that's what we do. But of course she would go to her own retrospective, which is so funny because the townies they're not a fan of her, but she does not believe that anyone could not be a fan of herself as any actor. So she goes in and it's a trap. But I enjoyed that sequence so much. The costumes, all the clever ideas in the different films she was in was ridiculous. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Well, I hadn't watched any interviews with you before this, so I was curious about what you would sound like. Did you model the way she speaks on any actresses from that era?
Yeah, I watched a lot of Betty Davis, a lot of Katharine Hepburn. There's a great Betty Davis movie called The Star, which is about a tormented actress. And I was like, oh, there's Rita. There she is right there. Yeah, so it was, it's kind of like a dream job in that sense, where you get to actually do a little research to create your character, which as an actor is a very fun thing to do.
I'm sure. And you mentioned before that, this was a trap, this retrospective. I feel like every single episode, something should be seen coming, and yet there's never any preparation. I know, Madame Rouge is doing a little bit that she's a little bit aware of what's going on, but
Yes.
Somehow it's believable that every single time they're going to get into some hijinks, even though they really should see something coming by this point.
Right. The Doom Patrol is not the savviest when it comes to danger, especially Rita. I think you can, if it's praise for her, she'll fall into the trap immediately. And I feel like the Doom Patrol just once again is like the quirky crime fighting team that doesn't really know when crime is about, except when they're caught in a terrible situation. They're like, oh no, we should have seen this coming. But no, we never do. But you'll see there's like a nice evolution in season 4 when things shift a little bit.
Well, I do like what we're seeing in terms of her leadership role, because, she sort of appointed herself the team leader, after the chief is no longer there, but now she's seeing a bit of mutiny, but no one else really wants to do it.
No one else wants to do it. Those stubborn teammates of mine. But I think that Rita is very honored, even though it's kind of like by default she gets it. She takes it very seriously, and so seriously that she starts to alienate the rest of the cast, and then they choose her nemesis to take over her position, and that causes a huge rift for her and the Doomies, because she was really feeling like she had finally found what she was good at, and then they took it away from her family of all the people. So then she has to find her way back into loving them essentially throughout the season.
Right. We can talk freely through episode 6. This interview will post after that airs. But I'm loving the relationship that she has with Madame Rouge, because there was just such a closeness and then such like a viciousness for most of the season. And then things sort of do come around in a really nice way.
Yeah, they do. They have to, she realizes that she has to lean on her. And then there's something really beautiful about how Michelle Gomez plays Madame Rouge, is that she's so feisty, and you'll see she has her hand turns into the knife, and she's trying to really take Rita's shit. And then she'll be very honest and I need you, things turn, and she doesn't want to be team leader, and she comes to Rita and she's very vulnerable and humble, and then Rita opens up her heart a little bit, because I think Rita just wants to be recognized and seen and not be manipulated. And there are moments where Madame Rouge can come to her and not manipulate her. And then there's this beautiful friendship that starts to form again throughout the season, which is very unexpected.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. And I also, I mean, obviously her relationship with Larry is one of the best parts of the show. That the fact that he knew all the movies, when they were sitting in the retrospective, and that, after being pretty blunt and honest with her, he still, give her a hug for me when she wakes up. That's very, very sweet.
Yeah, it was so sweet. I was honored, like when I read the script, how he's like so protective of her. And she's like, those aren't the words. These aren't the words. And Mr. 104 is introduced and he's like, you're not her true love. Like he really is, even with their rift and how Rita is so upset because essentially Larry betrayed her by choosing Madame Rouge to lead the team this year. He still loves her.
And I mean, audiences hear you talking a lot to Matt Bomer, but obviously he's not playing the body of Larry. What is your interaction with him like?
Matt Bomer. Matt comes to set on occasion when he has the scenes where he is physically needed, and he's a gem. He remembers everyone's name. He comes in, he's bright and lovely, incredible. He loves the show so much. He's constantly like asking, like, how is it going? And we discuss plot points, and it's very lovely. He's lovely. And it's great to work with Matt Zook, who is the man in the suit. I could not do my job as well as I do without Matt Zook. He's incredible and embodies every physicality and emotional tension that is needed for the show.
I feel like there's a lot of, visual stuff on this show that audiences see and don't necessarily realize what goes into it. And I think a lot of that has to do with when Rita, blobs out, which we haven't really, I don't know if I'm using the right terminology. If that's what you call it. But, we saw that, a little bit in the final episode, but we haven't seen it as much throughout the season. What is it like working with that process? What are you physically doing there?
It's great because I go in and I do what I do. And then the special effects team comes in and then they put like little dots all over my face. And then they're like, okay, just move. Like it's just one exaggerated movement and then I'm done. My job is done. And then the rest happens behind a computer. They make this incredible blobbing situation. And then I get to do like a nice voiceover and then ta-da.
It's definitely a lot of fun to watch. And we mentioned Larry and Madame Rouge. I think that Rita does have her moments with some of the other characters, but I don't feel like she gets too much time really one-on-one with anybody else.
No, not really, which is interesting, like it's funny that we keep to, like I watched Robot Man and Crazy Jane in the retrospective when they fall into the retrospective and they have that whole scene in the closet, which I thought was just genius. And I was like, oh, I never really play with it. Like Jane and Robot Man are their storyline. And then Larry and I and Rouge have our storyline. And Javan, Cyborg, is on his own storyline. He gets new people introduced to him this season. And it's funny that we all come together at the end. But yeah, my storylines are very like focused on those two people.
The buttpocalypse is probably one of the crazier things to happen on the show. That said, that's not really a fair statement because everything that happens on the show is crazy and somehow it feels right. What was your first reaction when you read that, in the script?
I was like, what's happening? And I had to, our scripts are so what that I have to read it twice because I'm like, I must be making this up. Like it doesn't connect. I don't know how we're doing this. And I'm like, no, that's it. Yes, they're singing Shapoopy. And I'm like, what is happening? No, it's always exciting. That's why it's a dream job as well, is because it's not a procedural, like it's not like dun, dun, dun. Now we're going to pick up the clues. Like it's psychedelic. It's fun. It's insane. We have zombie butts and a zombie. And I mean, there's ghosts, sex ghosts all the time. Like, yeah, no, it's dreamy.
Are there any other highlights from the few seasons of the show that you really just enjoyed for Rita's storyline or anything the team took on?
Everything this year is, I think it's the best season so far. That everyone has a love that's resolved this year, which is incredible. I think it's like everyone separates, it completely separates and goes on their own journey just to be pulled back together in a way, which is phenomenal of the writers to have done, because it felt so isolating. And then at the end, there's a huge heartbreaking shift, which is incredible. But yeah, the butts are always fun. The time traveling is crazy. The jellyfish was a hoot. Just, there's a lot. But those are the big feelings towards the end are really incredible shifts. Yeah.
Well, it's nice in some ways that season 4 is split into 2 parts because there's more to look forward to. It's also agonizing in a sense because we have to wait probably a long time. Can you preview anything about just like the tone of the second half of the season?
The tone of the second half of the season is, it's like running a marathon and you're almost at the finish line. There's such a satisfaction of the second half of the season. It's the kind of what audiences have been waiting for. Like, I think the fans are really going to be touched, and I think we honor the show really, really well with the storylines of what's about to happen at the second half of the season.
That's great. And of course, 4 seasons is not any, that's a big accomplishment. Do you think this is a show that's going to keep going for a while after this? Is there more story to tell?
I think there's always more story to tell, especially with DC shows, and our show, it can go on forever. We have the Grant Morrison versions of the comic books are so incredible, right? It's a kaleidoscope of adventure, I think. So yes, our show can continue and continue.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that happens. I'd love to see as much more of this show and Rita Farr as possible.
Thank you. Oh, yay. Me too. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks for taking a few minutes to speak with me today.
My pleasure. Thank you. Happy holidays.
You too. Thanks so much.